Albert Pujols just joined the 700 Club. No, not that one. The other one. The one that only includes 4 players in Major League history. Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds, and now the machine himself. Let's look back at his 22-year career and see who he owned and who owned him. Let's start with the top 5 guys that he's owned. Minimum 20 at-bats. None of these guys are still active, and that shows how dominant Pujols was in the first 10 years of his career. He terrorized these guys. At the top of the list is the late Odalis Perez. He had 12 hits and 20 at-bats, 9 walks, got on base almost 3 out of 4 times, 2,224 OPS, and 5 home runs. Nobody else is even that close. You also had David Weathers. He was abused from his years in Cincinnati. 11 hits and 4 homers and 20 at-bats. Chris Capuano saw Pujols a lot when he was in Milwaukee. 21 hits and 40 at-bats and 5 homers. Sean Estes played for a different team every year when Pujols was in the league. But no matter where he went, Pujols found him. 9 for 20 with 3 homers. Paul Maholm may be most famous for facing Billy Crystal in a spring training game and striking him out. But he wasn't so lucky against Pujols. Well, he did strike him out once, but Albert had 22 hits and 39 at-bats, only took him yard twice, but finished with a .564 average. Among active players, it's less impressive. He's had by far the most success against Tommy Milone. 12 hits and 27 at-bats, 2 homers, .444 average, 1426 OPS. Kendall Graveman is next, 11 for 29 and 3 homers. Then Derek Holland, only 12 for 40, but he's taken him a yard 5 times. He's only hitting .261 off Ian Kennedy, but 3 of his 6 hits have been homers, and his OPS is .1047. He's only gone yard off Martin Perez once, but he has 11 hits and 29 at-bats, which is good for a .379 average. Just outside the top 5 is Clayton Kershaw, 13 for 36 and a .952 OPS off the future Hall of Famer, though Kershaw has fanned him 7 times. Let's see who he's taken deep the most in his career. There are 6 guys in a tie for second with 5 homers. We talked about Odalis Perez, Chris Capuano, and Derek Holland, but you can also add in some of the old NL Central guys. Ian Snell spent a lot of years in Pittsburgh, and Pujols went 15 for 35 and an OPS of .1460. He faced Carlos Zambrano in all those Cubs-Cardinals matchups, and Zambrano held him under 300, 21 for 71, walked him 11 times against 13 strikeouts, and a .973 OPS. Aaron Harang is another guy who spent a lot of time in Cincy, and he went toe-to-toe with Albert a lot. 82 at-bats, 27 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, a .329 average, and a .926 OPS. But there is one guy who gave up 8 homers to Pujols, and that was Ryan Dempster, another victim of the Cubs-Cardinals rivalry. Albert got 20 hits and 60 at-bats, and almost half of them were home runs. He also walked him 13 times and only struck him out twice, finishing with a .1247 OPS. Now, who owns Albert? I don't have to split this between overall and active. 5 of the top 6 are still playing. That shows his decline over the last 10 years. Again, minimum 20 at-bats. The guy who has his number is Sean Manaea. 1 hit and 22 at-bats, 0 homers, 4 strikeouts, .091 OPS. Corey Kluber has a similar line. He started getting good right when Pujols was on the downslope, so he's held him to 1 hit and 20 at-bats, 0 homers, 3 strikeouts, 100 OPS. The one guy who isn't active is Ryan Madson, and he faced Albert at his best and his worst from 2003 to 2018. He went 1 for 21, the one being a double, and walked him 3 times, finishing with a .262 OPS. Nick Martinez also held Pujols to 1 hit and 21 at-bats, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts, .307 OPS. Marco Gonzalez has faced him a lot when the Mariners played the Angels, and in 38 at-bats, Pujols has 4 hits, 1 homer, 4 RBI, but that's just a .105 average and a .309 OPS. In 6th place, but 5th among active players, is Chris Sale. Pujols did take him deep once, but that was one of only 2 hits over 24 at-bats. He never walked him, but struck him out 7 times. .083 average, .333 OPS. Albert Pujols has been a hard guy to strike out over the years. He has never struck out 100 times in a season. The closest he's come is 93 in 2001 and 2017. In 2006, he came up to bat 634 times and only had 50 strikeouts. By comparison, Mike Trout has struck out over 100 times every year he's played over 114 games. And in his first MVP year of 2014, he fanned a league-high 184 times. So, who struck out Pujols the most? The answer to that is Felix Hernandez. Pujols may have gotten 16 hits and 73 at-bats, but for every hit, Felix sat him down. 16 strikeouts, 6 walks, only 1 homer, and Pujols only hit .219 with a .635 OPS. We talked about Carlos Zambrano. And despite striking out 13 times, he took him yard 5 times and had an OPS of 973. Ben Sheets spent a lot of years in Milwaukee, and Pujols got the best of him. 20 for 59, 4 homers, 968 OPS, but Sheets struck him out 11 times. The only active player on this list is Yu Darvish. He got Pujols a lot during his years in Texas, and for the most part, he won those battles. 8 hits and 36 at-bats. That's a .222 average. He did take him yard 3 times, but Darvish struck him out 10 times. Also with 10 strikeouts was Doug Fister, and he did it in only 24 at-bats. 2 of his 4 hits were home runs, but overall, his average was pretty bad, sitting at 167, but he did have a decent 759 OPS. Over his long career, who did Albert Pujols face the most? Of the top 5, we already talked about Aaron Harang. He took him yard 5 times, and had a 926 OPS over 82 at-bats. Felix Hernandez had him for 73 at-bats, and had much better success with those 16 strikeouts and a 635 OPS. We also talked about Carlos Zambrano, facing him 71 times and giving up 5 long balls and a 973 OPS. Now for the other 2 guys. Bronson Arroyo spent a lot of time with the Reds, and he did halfway decent with Pujols. 19 for 70, 13 walks against 5 strikeouts. Albert left the yard 4 times, finishing with a 271 average and a 905 OPS. But the one guy that Pujols faced the most was Roy Oswalt, another NL Central foe in Houston. 87 at-bats, 26 hits, 9 doubles, 4 homers, 6 walks, 7 strikeouts. Pujols did not own him, but he won the battle. A 299 average and an 884 OPS. Last one. What team did Pujols own the most? He has an OPS of 1,000 or higher against 7 teams. That's the Diamondbacks, Rockies, Brewers, Reds, Braves, Nationals, and of course, first place is the Pirates. He also has 54 homers against the Pirates, but that's only third behind the Astros and the Cubs. Obviously, his time in St. Louis means he's played a lot more games against these teams, so it's not fair. Plus, the Astros moved to the AL West not long after Albert got there, so he's played 300 games against them in his career. To make it fair, let's compare games played versus home runs hit. When you do that, you see just how much he owned the Cubs. Sure, he has 3 more homers against the Astros, but he did that in 101 more games. This list only looks at teams that he's played at least 50 games against, so no Cardinals and no Angels. The Cubs are second. As you would expect, the Pirates are fourth. And rounding out the top 5 are the Braves, Mets, and at the top of the list, the Nationals. His 24 homers in 79 games means he averages 1 homer every 3 games against them. On the other end, you see a lot of AL teams. Guardians, A's, Twins, Yankees. But the one that stands out is Philly. With only 15 homers in 87 games, that's just a bit over 1 homer every 6 games, most of those games coming during his prime in St. Louis. That's all for Albert Pujols. If you have any other facts or stats to share, or have a favorite Pujols moment, sound off in the comments below. For me, the 2 that stand out were times that I was rooting against the Cardinals. The first one coming in 2005 against Houston. It was the 9th inning of Game 5, and I wrote a text to my dad that the Astros were going to the World Series. And, of course, I had to erase that, thanks to one of the most massive blasts I've ever seen. The other was the 2011 World Series, Game 3. Going yard 3 times in Arlington. Not to mention, he was 5 for 6 in that game. But going back to the home runs, there have only been 4 guys that go deep 3 times in a World Series game. Babe Ruth, Reggie Jackson, Albert Pujols, and then Pablo Sandoval did it the next year. But still, that's just one more awesome feat in his Hall of Fame career. Despite those 2 moments, I really enjoyed having him with the Dodgers last year. He always seemed to cash in the RBI whenever he got the chance. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. And if you're new here and love baseball content, please consider giving me a sub. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.